So design is kind of a big deal right now. But with so much opportunity and so many different job roles for designers, which kind of designer should you actually be? In this video, I want to talk about where you should focus depending on what you're into, what you're not into, what excites you. I'm going to go over some common design roles that we have out here today so that you can have a better understanding of where you might fit in and where you should focus. I do want to say that one of these is not any better than another. They are all super important, super cool jobs. It's all about finding what works best for you. Everyone is unique, everyone has different strengths and weaknesses, and different things that just make us excited. We want to make sure you're headed in a direction that you're actually going to really enjoy doing day in and day out, because this is a job. Design is a job. So with that, I will get started with the first one. UX researcher. Now, even though design is not really in the title of this one, that doesn't mean they're not really a designer or very important to the design process. A UX researcher, also known as a user researcher, design researcher, is responsible for, you guessed it, research. If you're specifically a researcher, that means you are not very involved with the visual aspects of design. But like I've talked about, design is so much more than the visual. So the research is so important to a project. You cannot have a successful project without research. This person is the one that's doing the heavy lifting when it comes to finding out about the business needs, about what users want, what they're looking for, where their problems are, what pain points they have, interviewing people, talking to people, writing down reports, analyzing everything that they found into a meaningful deliverable for the team so that they can do their best work in meeting all those needs that you uncovered. The researcher is for someone that loves talking to people, that loves analyzing both quantitative and qualitative data into something meaningful. There are so many ways to do UX research. So if you're into research, there's a variety of things you may be doing on a day-to-day basis. I don't think it would look the same for you every day. I think you're going to have a lot of variety. You're going to learn a lot of cool stuff. You're going to have a lot of aha moments. That could be really exciting. So if you're someone that really loves to learn and explore and you're super curious just in general, think about being a researcher. Okay, so the next type of designer I want to talk about is the strictly UI designer. Now, this is not the combo UI UX. I'll get to that in a minute. But if you are strictly a UI designer, that means that you're very focused on the visuals. So you get the pixel perfect, beautiful, high fidelity design comps ready for the team. You take what you learn from strategy, you take what you learn from research, you take what you learn from user experience, and you apply it to a visual. So if you just love the colors, the typography, the spacing, the design systems, the pretty, this is for you. Now I want to take a little step back into the process and go to kind of a general term of UX designer. Now this can really vary depending on what company, but in general I would say that the UX designer role kind of has a span from that research strategy side, usually up to the wireframing stage at least, and sometimes even beyond that. So if you really enjoy the research strategy part, but you also like sort of setting up the stage for a design going forward, then UX designer is a perfect role to sort of do both. Now, like I said, in some roles, this can go past the wireframing stage, but I'm going to say that is definitely more of the UI/UX designer or product designer, which is where I would consider myself to be. So that's somebody who not only does some user research and strategy work and reports on their findings and does the testing and so on, but they also do all the deliverables up to the design handoff. So for someone like me who loves the pretty, but also is really interested in how it's going to work and how a design is going to actually solve those needs, solve those problems, and wants to learn that knowledge firsthand, it's a perfect role. I love it. It's great. Might be great for you too. Next is a motion designer. We are seeing so much motion design these days on all of the inspiration sites, so I think this is actually going to be a really up and coming role. Someone that can think not only with the flat visual, the UI, but how those things move. I think the motion designer focuses more on animation and those really cool animations and interactions that we're seeing these days. So not just the tiny details of how things might change, but how things move around, how you can sort of introduce fun, delightful movement into your design. So someone like me, it's hard for me to think in sort of motion or 3D. I really prefer just the two-dimensional, like flat UI. But some people just have this knack for looking at a screen and design and imagining how it could move. Maybe things overlap, maybe things slide out, slide up, whatever. I mean, there's so much that's going on now. So if you like the motion part, definitely look into motion design, motion graphics, or animation jobs. Now, I don't want to forget about traditional graphic designers. So if any of these design roles sound familiar, graphic design probably should. Graphic design has been around for a long time. It is everywhere. It shapes culture, it shapes movements. In my opinion, it is so important as a way to communicate. And I actually started out as a graphic designer. I loved it. Sometimes I miss it. But this is someone that works traditionally in print. So you might do a letterhead or a business card. You might do branding, which is still huge. Maybe you do advertising, so design for a billboard or the side of a bus or a car wrap, or there's so many things that design can be applied to. So a graphic designer, while there are specialties within graphic design, maybe you focus more on branding or advertising or identity, still all super important. It still seems like graphic design is one of the more creative avenues for design. So if you're someone that enjoys restraint but also likes to have a little more liberty in terms of what you can do and how you're pushing the visual, graphic design is very welcoming to that, whereas something like UI, UX, people don't want to have to learn something brand new every time they open an app, right? So there's more creative restriction, I think, in the digital realm, but graphic design is wide open still for creativity. I mean, you can go crazy. If you look at graphic design throughout history, you'll see so many different ways that we've communicated using graphic design, and it's still super exciting. I still love it, and there are still jobs in graphic design. You may see them called visual design at some companies, pretty much the same thing, but if you just love the visual graphic part of design, then hey, go for it. Follow your dreams. And there are some other roles that actually work closely with design that aren't specifically designers, but thought you might find them interesting. One is an illustrator. So someone who's an illustrator is typically not a bad graphic designer, but not all graphic designers can be good illustrators. So an illustrator is someone that makes illustrations. And so if you're really great at drawing and you love sketching and you just have an eye for making beautiful things out of your head, don't know how you do it, but that's amazing. Illustration is actually becoming super trendy right now, especially for web. So if you're an illustrator and you thought, I'm never gonna make money drawing, or all I've done my whole life is doodle and I don't know what to do with that, please be an illustrator. We need more people like you. There are so many opportunities to use illustration now, like I said, especially in the digital world. So you are in high demand. Not everyone can be an illustrator. That is a skill you are blessed to have. So please do something with that. Another one is more on the writing side. I wouldn't say that this is a design job, but I think if you're someone that likes working with designers and you have an appreciation for design and how it works and how words and design play together in a huge way, be a content strategist or a UX writer. So these are roles where you're really working with the content to make sure it's user-friendly, to make sure the words that you're using in the design are just so carefully chosen. They're consistent in voice and tone. They help the user to do something. There's actually so much that goes into the words in the content that are on the products that we design. So if you're someone that thought you might have been a copywriter in a past life, or you like having playful language to help your design, that could be maybe something to look into. And last but not least, let's not forget our friends, the developers. While developers definitely are not designers, a lot of them actually appreciate good design. And especially if you're a front-end designer, someone who writes the front-end code for, say, a website, they are very familiar with design because they build them out every day. So if you're somebody that is more analytical and you sort of like the challenges that development can bring, how to bring designs to life, how to bring these crazy ideas the motion designer wants into life and make it technically possible. Development's always changing, always advancing, but it definitely is less on the visual, more on the analytical side, as you might imagine. There are a lot of developers who love what they do and they wouldn't trade it for the world, so it doesn't hurt to try learning a little bit of coding just to see if you like it. If that's something that you want, totally go for it. Designers need developers if you're doing design for digital space, period. So super important role as well. Now, these are definitely not the only roles out there, but these are probably the most common that you're gonna see today. And I hope this helps you figure out sort of where your strengths are, what you're interested in, what excites you, and go after that. Like I said, you wanna make sure that what you're doing every day, you actually enjoy. And it uses the parts of your brain that get lit up and excited over things that other people may not understand. So for me, I love being a UX designer who does everything from the strategy and user research all the way to the final visual. I love it all. But for you, maybe you just want to draw. Maybe you just want to illustrate. Maybe you want to write. Maybe you want to do beautiful branding work or focus on how things move across the screen. Whatever it is, find it, focus on that, and you will have a happy career. And I'm actually really curious. So down in the comments, please let me know which part of the design spectrum or even beyond works best for you. What do you want to focus on? What have you learned about yourself that makes you want to do one thing over another? I'm dying to know. Please leave me a comment. Can't wait to read and respond. So thanks for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. That just helps my videos get seen on YouTube, so I'd really appreciate it. Hit subscribe if you have not already for more videos like this. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you at the next one.